We are live. Okay, in the last 7 days, AI got blessed by the Pope, it got weaponized by hackers, it got regulated by the White House, and it's finally believed in by Wall Street's biggest skeptic that AI has arrived and will actually help us. This and more on this week's edition of Artificially Informed. All right, let's do some intros. We got a new face today. I'm Logan Edmonds. I'm your host. I'm CEO of TTS Cyber.
I'm Patrick Herter, founder of Your Network Security.
And I'm Aziz Ghanam, working as a business development executive for Pacific Cyber.
Happy Friday, guys. We have arrived to the holiday weekend, and none too soon because, as I say every week, the AI is making my head hurt. And it does. I keep saying that, and it doesn't ever get better. Like, it's like a migraine that steadily keeps increasing.
AI needs to develop better Tylenol.
What's the digital equivalent of ibuprofen, right? Come on. So, what are we talking about? Let's start right on the top article. This one caught even my eye. We have some pretty zany stuff out there, but whenever His Holiness the Pope gets involved, even I take a notice, and he has decided to weigh in on the AI battle. So, the headline for this week is the Pope just put AI in performance review. Silicon Valley has been talking for years about the ethical implications of AI and how we manage that. Pope Leo the 14th is actually taking it seriously. He's partnered with Anthropic co-founder Christopher Olah, and they're getting very deep into advising and putting out prescription regarding ethics, labor risks, and global power structures. They believe, global power struggles that they believe AI is going to happen. I know we live in a world where everybody has a hot take. I still pay attention when the Pope has a hot take. What about you guys?
I think it's pretty profound.
No, you're going to get us in trouble.
2 minutes.
I'm not even Catholic, and you're going to get me excommunicated. Stop that. Well, I mean, honestly, so the Pope Leo has been talking about this for a while. Like, he's very concerned about human suffering conditions, right? And specifically the economic impact of AI, we are definitely seeing, I think, from my perspective in the market even now, right? Like, is all the layoffs and job loss we've seen due to AI in the news? Probably not, but I do think some of it is. And I was talking to Patrick in our last call, Aziz. For years, we tell people for years, this is coming, this is coming, this is coming, and then we are vindicated, 7 years down the road.
Yeah.
AI came a lot quicker than that.
And it's going to be even faster going forward. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the Pope was asking questions that Silicon Valley was not asking, really. It's not what it should do. It's all about what it should not replace, basically. And it's kind of like reading the manual. Like, if you want to go and buy a machine, you want to read the manual before you cut your finger or something like that. So I think AI right now just is out there overwhelming people, and there's a lot of consequences can be.
Well, I mean, he's weighing in a place that I think a lot of politicians are afraid to weigh in. Like, he doesn't have the same kind of level of stakes, right? Like, a lot of politicians are very worried about weighing in too heavily in AI and the economic impacts, right? Like, right now we're in this weird world of AI races where people have bought into the cycle that AI powered economies, the next one's going to rule the world, similar to the infrastructure railroad build out. And so a lot of politicians hem and haw. What I find is interesting is his focus is not on economic build out. It really is on, at least according to him, he's building an encyclical, right? Hey, this is how we should approach this from a philosophical, moral, and ethical standpoint. And it does look like, based on what I was reading, he's going to get specific. It's not just going to be a high level fluff, right? Like, it's going to be, these are the kind of ramifications we expect, and this is how we believe from a moral high ground it should be handled and treated as such. Yeah. Again, His Holiness the Pope, man, weighing in on AI. 2026, what a world!
We really do need this weighed in on too, because they've had this issue from when AI started to get popular, and you had the political leaning accusations of AI models and everything. When you break it down, it's because these AI models, you can't please everybody, and it doesn't have a soul. So you need somebody to speak to the people that they represent, the Pope being, Catholic Christian area. And I think several other leaders need to speak into how AI is going to impact people with their ideological beliefs, because it can't speak for everybody. It's impossible to speak for everybody.
I think it's probably one last thing to lay on this, which is this is going to have more weight in different parts of the world than others. I think because we live here in the West in the United States, so the Catholic Church's reach, while still sizable, it has its limits, right? Especially in the current political things. You go over into Western Eastern Europe, in those areas, right? Like in Latin America, like this, people are going to pay attention to this. There are real believers that are going to actually fall in on it. So, yeah, I'm curious to see the effects of this. I don't think we'll be able to measure it for quite some time, but I guess it's good news. Like I'd rather have this than not have this, to Patrick's point.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, well, moving on to our Inside the Stack story. Headline being the dream job that could cost more than payroll. Aziz, I know you took a look at this, right? How do you feel about recruiters? What's your general feeling about recruiters?
Let me ask you this first. Have you guys ever received a message on LinkedIn? Join our board. Your background matches our whatever.
Oh, sure.
And it's so many description. Yeah, so at the end of the day, it's not a job scam story. I think it's more about, it's a trust and identity verification story. And these scammers, quote unquote scammers, they are borrowing the trust of existing companies. So you already are there representing yourself as a legitimate organization. And for people who are seeking jobs, that could be a little dangerous. Let me just put it that way. At the end of the day, what are you protecting as a job seeker, and what are you protecting as a company who your image was borrowed and putting it out there? So I think this is the main aspect. And it's not just LinkedIn or any other platforms. How are you able, or how can you make sure that these attacks or these scams are not out there fooling people?
I'm also worried about the current macro environment we're in, right? Like some people really are looking hard for that next job, and offerings aren't exactly growing on trees right now, right? Like there are some people that might want to take a chance on these that normally would never ever give this a second glance, right? Like there is an element of the situation we're in, and the emotional desperation a certain individual might be. And what's challenging about this is, I think you hit this on the head, right? Like this doesn't just impact the employee, it impacts the employer. We're all kind of foolish if we don't think our employees from time to time don't go, looking at their role versus another job offer over across the street on their work time, right? Like, sorry guys, if you're an employer watching this, I hate to tell you this, if you have an employee for any length of time, they probably at least spend a little bit of time looking at alternative roles similar to what they're doing now, just where we're at. So you get caught up in the scam on your work device or that impacts your employer too. And again, like you said, reputation. Like if someone's impersonating an employer, they might get caught up in this, no fault of their own. Hey, I work for JP Morgan. No, you don't. But now there's this viral story going around about how little old lady lost her life savings because her grandson got scammed by JP Morgan, right? Like that is the world we live in.
Yeah. And the thing is with AI these days, it's so much easier to scale the scams. So you're going to have way more scams or fake messages or identity theft, if you want to put it that way as well, a lot quicker. Just putting it on blast out there. So I think at this point, it's like in the past, we're just trusting our instinct. If it's a fake account or a fake looking link or whatever, I think there should be a little bit more of a process behind that in the back end from any side, really, whether it's the employer, whether it's the platform, or even the job seeker. So I don't know.
I agree with that. I honestly, that's the real world we're moving into, which is I think we're moving very quickly into a world where scams are not easy to detect. We've been relying on the fact that scams, if you're being street savvy for a long time, are relatively easy to detect. And I was reading about cyber insurance claims the other day, and it's literally like, hey, in 2020, I think it was 25, they evaluated, we took in about $19 billion of premium. We lost over $20 billion. Like for that first time in the year, non-insurers took in versus what they paid exceeded, and a lot of it was just financial fraud due to scams on businesses, phishing emails and whatnot. Because they got, and my buddy Andy Runyon, we did a webinar about 2 months ago, said, I'll quote him, phishing emails and scammers have just gotten so daggone good at writing good emails at scale.
Yeah.
Arkansas Andy. I love that guy. All right, moving on. Let's talk about security. Patrick, Google did a thing this week. It's a thing we've been predicting for a while, but it's real, and Google did a breakdown on it. Talk about this, right? Google announced that, hey, someone used AI to exploit a vulnerability at scale.
Yeah. You ever hear that song, Big John? And it's about the miners. I kind of feel like Google just sort of rescued all the miners, but I don't know if it can handle the constant onslaught. And then that's really what the warning of this article is. Something we've talked about before is how fast AI is going to bring new attacks, new exploits to the wild at a pace that's just something we've never experienced before. And this, it caught the first one. Awesome. I really hope that they can keep going on it. And that's really what this article, and I think there's one that you're talking about next, that how is the industry going to respond to this is the question that gets raised.
I got rosy feelings feeling about this, like, yeah, Google saw it and did the right thing, and that's great, but based on our previous conversations, this is going to be such a scale problem that, is this just a silver lining? Like, that's all I can think of in this article, right? Like, this is just the one we can see and point to and say this is how it should be handled, but how many are actually going on like this, where a popularly used software like Google Chrome or like Microsoft Office server is being exploited en masse and it hasn't been dealt with yet? I don't want to be the pessimist here, but that unfortunately is what I went through my mind when I read this story.
Well, I think you want to be more realistic, because at the end of the day, it's bound to happen. I mean, AI might not rewrite its own or the rules of hacking, but definitely shortens the time. So to get to that point.
Yeah, I think the other thing kind of leads me is, you're right. It's realism, because at the end of the day, we don't have the World Economic Forum, the federal chair, and the Treasury Department all summoning bank CEOs to warn them about this because there was a blip in the news. Like, this is going to be a continued problem. Mm-hmm. But this does give me also optimism in terms of there might be a solution out of this, right? Like, that is a possibility here. Every company handles this like Google does, and maybe that's a little overly optimistic, right? But if they do, that's a future that I see as being sustainable.
Yeah.
I like kind of word pictures or movie scenes, things like that when I describe something. But like, I imagine the Star Wars scene where all the ships are battling. If you're on a glass catwalk just watching this, so AI, good guys defending, AI, bad guys attacking. It's all happening so fast that even the human element on both sides of the battle lines can't even see what's going on, can't respond. So we're all just sitting in a cafe with our enemy. All of our troops virtually are duking it out.
I mean, well, speaking of duking it out, let's go into the next article. And this is Aziz here. So Trump's order tries to split the difference between big tech and guardrails is the headline. Federal government weighed in this week on AI. This is a non-political show. There's exactly one political ideology that Steve Bannon and Bernie Sanders are roughly in alignment with, and that is, don't free the AI to do whatever it wants. Like, it's crazy. Like, if you go down like the political ideology, those two have nothing in common, nor they ever, except for some reason they're mostly in alignment on this one. And so this was not popular, I don't think, by anybody.
And it signals that it is important. I mean, regardless whether you agree with one or the other, when it comes to their political ideologies. But I do believe, and it kind of ties it to what the Pope was saying earlier. I feel like this one in particular, I can talk about it all day. The thing is, I think what the current administration is doing right now is basically putting a light touch when it comes to putting some sort of regulation on developing the AI and what have you. I think it's important to have some sort of guardrails around it. I think at the end of the day, this light touch is really not stopping businesses from improving, but also there is a backstop when it comes to national security. I mean, if we're talking about other governments like China, for example, it's a huge. I mean, I don't know what they're over there, but it's going to be interesting to see. 'Cause what I'm thinking about is, how many arms are you trying to balance over here? Because if you really want to improve, and you want to improve fast, because AI is moving fast, but also other countries are doing this at a whole different scale, a whole different level.
Well,
And what kind of regulation do they have over there?
I think it speaks to how fast things are moving, and obviously the current administration has had a policy for a while that they're betting big on AI being an efficiency gain that outweigh a lot of the economics struggles that some of the United States is having. Right, like they don't want to mess with the AI growth engine. But I'm going to say this in Patrick, how well does self-voluntary compliance work? When someone, you please do the thing. That's all they ask for. How does that work?
It will. Yeah, hallucinations still happen.
I mean that's my problem here, right? Voluntary framework basically means it's there, I guess, for a reference point, but people are not going to follow it because that's just not how organizations are designed, right? Until there's an external stimulus, whether that's market pressure, whether that's legal pressure, whether that's something, right? Like organizations don't change operational workflow unless they're from an outside force makes it the path of least resistance. This is hard.
I was just going to say, I think I want to be cautious about using the word regulation because it is not a regulation.
No, it's not. It's a framework. It's a framework.
It is a framework, you know. So at the end of the day, sure, if you want to opt in, give us before you release this to the public, 90 days to review it or whatever it is. Cool. If you have the right people to review it. And that's the other question, you know. So at the end of the day, I mean, this just reminded me of CSF, the one that was enabled by the Obama administration.
It's great. It's great. It's a great framework.
And I think we're just around the corner from having something similar that is more specific to AI. But
I don't know. I mean, so on one hand, we have an administration that's very pro-economics, right? Like, don't stifle innovation. On the other hand, even the own parties, hardcores, are starting to get involved in saying this is kind of spinning out of control. And I think that's not controversial anymore to say. The AI current frontier is spinning a little bit out of control, and the fact that we are having trouble seeing where this lands. I don't care how in the know you are. You're having trouble predicting where does this all play out because AI is. Someone compared it. I was listening to podcasts lately to the development of nuclear technology, right? It is an amazing technology inherent by itself, but how the story played out and the situation that played out very much dictated the impact it had on the world, right? And you can argue there were things that were bad, there were things that were good, but we're still here, right? And something did come out of that. This is coming at a speed now that if we don't apply, and to those who are proponents of applying brakes, if we don't apply brakes in the next 18 months, it's going to be really hard to put that genie back in the bottle. Might already be too late. I can't tell you that, but I think this might be something that's meant to be a nod towards that. That being said, definitely going to see a lot of legit arguments saying this isn't enough.
Well, I guess the unanswered question is what qualifies excuse me, what qualifies a covered frontier model, or what is that?
That's the question. See, you're getting into the nuance here, right? And again, I don't think this is a bad thing by itself. I think what is the intent and how is it actually going to be used in the modern marketplace? Because that's what's going to dictate, what effect, if any, this has.
Yeah,
I don't have answers on that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely vague. Again, this is something that I feel like we can talk about all day.
We can, and it's voluntary. At the end of the day, that's the biggest takeaway. Is it's something. It's better than not, and it definitely seems also be. We talked about last week. A lot of states are trying to weigh in how we regulate this ourselves. So this also could be if I'm putting a political hat on, this could be a forward nudge towards the getting in front of that. Hey, don't try to build it yourself. Maybe reference what we've already got out there as you're building things. Right, getting in front of that.
I think it's important to have some sort of parameters. At the end of the day, and it's interesting to see how other countries around the world are behaving, whether it's the European Union or if it's East Asian countries or other parts of the world. But anyways,
well, let's move on to the next story, which is our business and finance story, and this one actually has a bit of context that's not even in the article. This has been a not a great week for Wall Street, unfortunately, as far as AI goes. If you're a Wall Street trader, that is. So the headline is AI skeptics are updating their LinkedIn skills. And the big headline is, and I'll add into this that there's another part that happened after this article's release, but Ken Griffin, who's CEO of Citadel, which is a hedge fund, and he's been one of more, I would say he hasn't been an AI denier, but he's been more skeptical, right? Can AI really make the transformative change that it advertises it can, especially in the financial sector? And it does appear like he's shifting his language. He does believe earlier this year he was dismissing at the World Economic Forum, like AI is impressive on this. He said, and I am paraphrasing, AI is impressive on the surface, but unreliable once examined more deeply. And then he summed up his view a little more bluntly, and this is a quote, saying that once you dug in, it's all garbage, was his exact words. Now he's saying a different reality. AI has become profoundly more powerful, and just in the last 9 months, and that for the first time, AI is quote unquote real. And now the context that's not in the article is, Jamie Dimon, who is CEO of JP Morgan Chase, went out this week and said, I don't think we're going to be hiring as many traders, as many bankers. I think we're going to be hiring more AI experts, and that long term, we're probably going to reduce headcount because of that change. Yeah. So you tie those two messages together, Wall Street's got some competition.
Definitely does. I think the most credible AI labor warnings is coming now from people like Ken, who are initially were not believers or skeptics, and now they see it's actually making an impact. So it's coming from people like him, not people who were early to hype the idea of AI.
It does seem like, just from our subjective, like I'm in AI all day long. Patrick, I know you work with it too. It has gotten better over the last 9 months. Like the large language models have, in my opinion, dramatically increased in connectivity. And some of the stuff that Anthropic's doing with how easy it is to hook up data sources now with their MCP model and their connector model and their skills models, it's going to make it really easy to adopt and start using. Like just today, I hooked up my calendar to Claude because I'm like, I get tired of checking whether I'm available or not, right? I'm going to make a bot read only that can check my calendar and tell me, am I available? What's my availability this week? And I can just ask it and it'll tell me, right? Like stuff like that adds up.
It definitely does. I think it's important to understand how to use it, but at the same time, just got to have a balance of some sort.
Well, final story. How do you use it, right? So, what do you, Aziz? I know me and Pat talk about a lot. Are you familiar with one of the most expensive parts of getting an AI company off the ground in terms of being a large language model is?
I mean, I'm interested to hear your side of it.
Okay, the answer is training. A large model to get it to make like even modest improvements over the previous version. You know how ChatGPT's got its GPT-5, Opus, Anthropic's got Opus 4.7. Like what happens is they have to do a lot of compute just to get that to where it needs to be. Yeah. And OpenAI announced something pretty interesting today about how they may have figured out how to be a little more, I hate the word efficient because we used a lot of it on this call, but a little more conservative in terms of how much resources they need. Patrick, what was your take on this?
This is an interesting shift. I mean, OpenAI, love them or hate them, whether they survive this AI bubble thing that we're talking about, they are definitely developing and looking at things from different angles and trying to make the most out of what they're trying to develop. And so AI training is the most expensive part, and that traditionally relies on the tiny little GPU chip, which is graphic processing power, because it can handle huge numbers, massive numbers, but it takes a lot of electricity, generates an incredible amount of heat, all of which drive up the bills of these massive AI data centers. So taking another approach and saying, let's do traffic management during the training process, and then we can leverage the same kind of physical, we can occupy the same space for training, for users' live model usage, and we can just prioritize the traffic so we can continue to develop and continue to serve our customers, save money in the process, and maybe survive. Is probably a thought that's going in the back of their minds.
I think that last one is the really key one. I mean, if you've been reading economic journals, you know that the biggest jeopardy to OpenAI is their cash burn rate, and one of the biggest centers of that cash burn rate in terms of them being able to survive this is training. Like they have to train to stay competitive with Anthropic, Gemini, and any other models that are out there, DeepSeek. But it's expensive. They might have raised $122 billion, but they're going to spend 50 of that next year. I think it was something like that, just on training costs. Like,
Right.
I don't think this is all well and good for the and I'm all for efficiency, right? Like, I like, not polluting my water and needing as much power, but I think call it what it is, which is they know that their current model is horrendously inefficient, and this is one of the main reasons investors object to them and their long-term viability. So, not saying it's the wrong move either, to be clear. Like, just because they're doing it because they want to look more economically viable doesn't mean it's not a good thing.
Right. And then you've got your competition overseas that the moment you do spend all that money on training, they just go, okay, you figured out the way to train it. Now we can take that advancement and train a little bit faster or get caught up for a lot less money.
It is unclear to me, and I want more competition because it's better for all of us in the long run. It is unclear to me that how, I want to see OpenAI, as bad as it is to say, having more large language models in the market is a better thing for the people who use them. And I want to see them stick around to put pressure on companies like Anthropic and Google and DeepSeek. But one of the things I'll give critique on, and I will go on the record on this, is they did not budget their cash burn to the same level of diligence that Anthropic did. Like, if you look at their two financials, like Anthropic still spends a ton of money, to be clear, like still not profitable, still burning cash, but burning cash at a factor of like multiples lower than OpenAI. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people are looking at and saying, if we're going to bet on a horse, we're going to bet on the one that's going to keep the most cash long term and not spend as much.
Well, and you notice that there's a name missing from this list on major silicone chip manufacturers.
Poor Intel.
Well, it's not here.
Poor Intel. They're actually slowly, in my opinion, starting to make a little bit of a comeback because of market pressure. But if I'm training a model right now, I'm not using Intel chips. Just more expensive, more power, more replacement.
Yeah, NVIDIA got ahead of the curve there.
Yeah,
Yes.
and this is good news, I think, too, because I don't know if you guys remember 2 weeks ago, we did go through a headline of basically there's no more compute. Like for NVIDIA, like there's no more like wide swaths of compute that Anthropic, OpenAI, all these AI providers can just sign up and say, cool, we can just buy more, right? Like we're starting to hit the phase where build out is going to dictate future growth of these data centers. So I'm sure that's also a factor here. Like we have to make what we have work and work harder than what it currently can.
Absolutely.
All right, that was the end of our articles this week. Final thoughts. I feel like this week was a little more balanced. There's some silver linings. I still have questions about and the more we go on AI, I don't know if you guys feel this way. I know I do. The more questions I have, it feels like less gets answered long term. More questions open up. But I'm starting to see the shape of where we're going as a world in a lot of ways, and there's good things and bad things, like with everything.
Right, and I think clarifying the uncertainty 1 week at a time is really it's still progress.
That's why we do this podcast, because it really is the only way you can digest this news is 1 week at a time.
And I think the theme between all these 6 articles is AI is not a product, a story of a product anymore. It's about governance, no. About security. It is about labor, and it's all about the infrastructure and all these different things. So it is definitely more tied to a lot of things. The more we use it and the more we depend on it, it's definitely going to be more ingrained in our day-to-day operations.
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, someone said it earlier, and this is the big meta I think has changed. I have a statement. Someone said it in one of my group chats. I'm going to totally steal it, which is not giving AI access to your stuff is like saying you're not like saying I'm never going to allow AI to touch my things. Is like saying I'm going to hire somebody and never going to allow them to touch my things, right? Like it doesn't make sense anymore. Just like your logical workflow. Like every org is going to have to use AI to some extent, and they already are, and they realize it. I tell you guys, you say I'm never using AI. If you're Googling stuff and reading the Gemini summary at the top of Google, you're using AI. Like it's here. So I think more and more it's how is it done properly and in a way that we can keep control. That's the other thing I'm worried about. I think the Pope is too. How do we keep the leash on AI, not the other way around?
Right. Yeah. I think that's important.
All right, outros. I'm Logan Edelman, CEO of TTS Cyber. If you liked what you heard today and you want to learn more and stay up to date, we have got you covered. We got a free weekly newsletter that's 7-minute read once a week delivered to your inbox or on LinkedIn, depending on where you're seeing this. Just scan the QR code in the top right-hand corner. It'll take you right there, and you're good to go, my friends. Patrick, go ahead and introduce yourself before we head out.
Patrick Herter, founder of Your Network Security. Signing out.
Aziz Nam, business development executive for Pacific Cloud Security.
All right. Stay safe, stay informed. Have a great holiday weekend, everyone.